Freedom's the answer. What's the question? You're listening to Ernest Hancock.
Stop me now. I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. Stop me now. If you want to have a good time, just give me a call.
And we're back here on Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock, and my guest, Matt Bruce. He's host of the Captain's America radio show. And, he's invested in this thing. I mean, he's been a fireman. He was one of the first responders in 9/11. He was injured there, and it seems like they're taking care of him. He's also hosting a show, Troop Talk Radio, sponsored by the Department of Defense. So you can see kind of, he seems like an articulate individual that's got an opinion. But the one thing that I kind of want to dwell on just a little bit is when you talk about there's a process by which we are able to get this information out to the public. And I would imagine it would be first freedom of information requests or asking the State Department or the government or Department of Defense for this information, I would imagine, right?
Yes, that's part of it. You submit a public information request, and then if a document is classified or a document is secret, then they go through the process on the other end to see if they can declassify it and release it.
And you're satisfied with that?
I have been for years. Yes, I used it in the military, but unfortunately that process was not adhered to with these WikiLeaks.
And do you think that we would get the information that we need that way? Or, I mean, we have a lot of things that have happened over the last decade that has put us into situations where we have your sons in danger. And I have to ask, I mean, when we talk about the war and we do all these screenings and pat downs and surveillance and your bank accounts and the police state de law, whatever, and I'm going, if we just weren't involved in all this stuff, all this goes away. You want to do away with all the surveillance and everything and the radiation and the blah, 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 blah. I'm going, well, stop bombing people. Do you see that as a requirement of our empire, is that we need to be over there? Or I got to ask this question. Am I allowed not to care what happens in the Middle East? Am I allowed? I mean, whatever impact it's going to have on me, I guarantee it's going to be economic. I'll buy here or I'll buy there. I get to vote with my wallet. But I'm not allowed. I have to have all of this money, all of this attention, all the foreign policy, all of this engineering socially and economically here at home and overseas and pay for it. And I just had my second grandchild, and I'm going, they've indebted this kid for like ever. We're a tax slave. And I'm wondering, does your philosophy that you operate by allow for us not to be involved outside our borders?
No, I think America should be involved, and every American should have the same privilege and right. This is the greatest place on the face of the earth. We do have freedoms here that they don't have in other countries. And if you just go about the right process in which to get this, we wouldn't even be talking about WikiLeaks.
Why?
Because they would have gotten the material that they would have gotten properly. We wouldn't have been talking about somebody that got arrested in England facing extradition back to Sweden, where, oh, by the way, they have a treaty that they could actually extradite him to the United States. And if you don't think that's not going to happen, I do believe it is going to happen. I believe it's all been conjured up that way. But this wouldn't be illegal. The items would have been out there, not necessarily all the items, because I'm sure that some of the military documents about the way we interrogated our prisoners, the enemy combatants on the field of battle, wouldn't have been released because the enemy doesn't need to know that. They've used that as a recruiting tool. Well,
I agree. They certainly have. And I'm wondering, I want to be very nice of you to come on the show. And I appreciate, I want to get the other side, the perspective that you have, and you have a very unique perspective. Here's someone that is a first responder to 9/11, in fact, was injured. You have a talk show that you're able to express your opinion, and you do so for the Department of Defense, sponsors you being able to give this message to the troops, I'm sure, for positive morale. And you have a son that's in the Marines in Afghanistan on his third tour. Well, what is his duties? What are you allowed to say about what he does?
He is a combat battalion commander, and his unit is one of the units that's on the hunt on both sides of the border, Afghanistan and Pakistan.
Are they satisfied with their mission and they're being able to accomplish it? Are they cool with what's going on? I mean, what's your son have to say?
They are now. When General McChrystal was replaced and when General Petraeus was taken over there to take charge of the situation, one of the first things that he did was he doubled the operation of the Predators, which is the best way to not have boots on the ground, and put the Predators up in the air, not only over Afghanistan, but over Pakistan, seeking targets of opportunity. Once we acquired targets of opportunity and people that we knew were bad guys and where they were at, then after we took them out with the missiles we fired at them, we sent our troops in to verify that we got who we said we got.
Well, now we have a situation to where the Department of Defense and DARPA and so on developed hypersonic craft that they can launch from Kansas, and within an hour and a half, they can go anywhere they want. They don't even need the drones,
Right.
So, I mean, is this something that you think is an advance you support?
Yes, I think it's a good idea. Anytime you can do something and not have frontline combat troops in the middle, eyeball to eyeball, gun barrel to gun barrel with somebody, and take them out with people from overhead flying, even though they're operated by remote control. And by the way, in my backyard right here, less than 30 miles away, is CENTCOM, which is where the Global War on Terror is operated from. And I've been in those rooms in there, and I've watched them flying the drones over Pakistan, Afghanistan, and even Iraq.
Wow. I understand your perspective. And I mean, as a young man, reading popular science and popular mechanics and a lot of science and innovation that's coming. Wow, this is cool, man. We get rail guns on battleships. We can go, many dozens of miles and hit whatever. We got all kinds of technology. But this is why they want to kill us. I mean, I would think, are we safer because we have the ability to take these guys out? I mean, you can understand the argument from someone that would say, for every bad guy terrorist you blow up at some wedding, you're creating a lot of other people that want to kill us. I mean, how's that rhetoric set?
They want to kill us because of an ideology that they have, which is called radical Islamic terrorism. These people, it's their way or the highway. Now, there's a lot of good Muslims, a lot of good Islamics out there, I'm sure, but the statistics prove that about 1 to 3% of the people involved in the Muslim religion are actually conducting radical Islamic terrorism. Now, if you take the billion people that we understand are Muslims and you do the math, that's over 1 million people out there sworn to our destruction and doing anything that they can to destroy us and destroy our country as we know it. That's their policy, and there is no bargaining point. They do not discuss. They do not back down. That's their point.
What do you think they think our policy is?
They think that if they do bad things to us, we're going to do bad things back to them. What they don't realize is that we might help them build a country over there in Afghanistan if they would just merely back off and see what it is we're trying to do. For example, there's one paved road in Afghanistan. They call it Afghan Highway 1 just because it's the only road that's there. Everything else, half the time, you can't even travel on a vehicle in some of the remote places.
Well, where we're going, there aren't any roads. We'll be right back here on Declare Your Independence with my guest, Matt and Bruce, thecaptainsamerica.com, talking about the WikiLeaks. We'll get to that in the next segment. You guys stay right there. We'll be right back.